David Nelld is 31. He was a British Army major. Now he's a lieutenant colonel in command of his own army. Every morning he drives up to the barracks he designed himself in the large white car given him as a present by the sheikh. He also gets 3 times his old salary and a house with a swimming pool. He commands 2 Arab officers and a force of 180 men, which will soon be increased to 350. This Ras Al Khaimah Mobile Force, as it's called, is the 4th private army to appear in the Gulf in spite of strong British opposition. Mr. Wilson wants the 9 sheikhs to form a union with only 1 defence force before the British withdrawal next year. And great pressure was brought on Colonel Nelld not to help form a force that the British felt would only encourage disunion in the Gulf. But the force has gone ahead, and Britain hasn't refused to supply arms to it. Colonel Nelld was in London at Christmas buying £250,000 worth of arms. A number of brand new medium machine guns, mortars, rifles, ammunition, and 6 ferret-armoured cars for £15,000 apiece. The cost of all this is being met by Saudi Arabia, which for its own reasons wants to make friends with some of the Gulf sheikhs like Sheikh saqr, the ruler of Ras Al Khaimah. With British withdrawal next year, the struggle for power in the Gulf has started in earnest, and the Saudis believe that Sheikh saqr could be a valuable ally against some of the other sheikdoms that aren't so friendly towards them. Iran is bidding for influence too. She's giving the sheikh and Colonel Nelld 20 Land Rovers to provide transport for their new mobile force. Ras Al Khaimah, like most of the other sheikdoms, is a traditional feudal society of some 30,000 people, where the power of the sheikh is absolute. Sheikh saqr prides himself on the strides he's making with schools, hospitals and public works. But most people here think that the only way he can really secure his people's future once Britain goes is in a federation with the other sheikdoms. His only continuing source of income is the stone export trade from the hills behind Ras Al Khaimah, which earns the state some £70,000 a year. For the rest, he relies on friends like Saudi Arabia or on the big oil companies who are about to start drilling here. Seismographic surveys have produced encouraging reports, and the sheikh and his advisors now feel confident that the oil companies will strike rich within a year. If they don't, Ras Al Khaimah may be forced to think more seriously about federating with her neighbours than she is at the moment. Meanwhile, the sheikh and his mobile force prepare to go it alone. He says he will wrap up his army as soon as Britain assures him that the Trucial Omen Scouts will continue to keep the peace. But Britain no longer wants responsibility for the Scouts after next year, and there's no sign yet of a federal role for them. Colonel Nelld says the sheikh is right to build his own army.